fall, I also do a graphic communications class, which is kind of part art, part English, and then I'm also a MapStars advisor. So I'm going to start by talking about MapStars. I know a lot of you have MapStars programs within your school. Ours is one of what I feel to be one of the newer programs. We just started a program about 6 years ago at our school. I went to our Southwest Regional Conference, and Peg Sundell was doing a presentation there about stars, and I thought it was really cool. So I said to our principal at the time, how come we don't have stars? And they said, well, because nobody wanted to do it. And I said, I want to do it. So we started, and for those of you that don't know anything about stars, basically there's 3 major events that happen each year. It's the Fall Leadership Conference, and for our school, our staff chooses the 6 students that we feel could show some of those leadership skills that Jamie has mentioned. A lot of those students that I have in STARS are the same students that he has in his leadership class as well. But they go to Camp Ripley, and they do a lot of team building activities, hear some great speakers. The kids love it, they have a really good time. For where we are located, there really is no other alternative school in our area, so our kids refer to our school as VALC. But they didn't really understand until we went to some of these conferences that there's other kids out there that are just like them, and they thought that was pretty cool. Some kids that have gone through some rough things in their life, or some kids that just didn't learn the regular way. So that's been really neat to see. Legislative Day is another event that they have every year. We go and we meet with our legislators, with our senators and representatives. We have a picture there of some of our students that went last year. And then the Spring Events Conference is, of course, the biggest event of the year. And I am able to run a STARS class second semester, which we help prepare the students for the different events that they compete in at that conference. We've had a lot of success. I'm not real sure exactly if there's a great reason why. I think our kids are just really motivated. They really like going out and seeing the other kids, I think, that are kind of just like them. Last year at the state conference, we earned 8 plaques, which was pretty exciting. We have them hanging up in our school, so it's kind of a reminder to everyone. Of course, that sparked a lot of interest this year as well in the class. Our school gives our kids elective credit for being in the STARS class. It's a lot of real-world skills. We're able to bring in some of the agencies in our area, which Joan will talk about after a little bit, but we partnered with the Workforce Center, brought them in, had them do mock interviews with the students to kind of help prep for that particular event. In the last 2 years, we've had 2 state officers. And if you haven't had a student run for state officer, I think it's a really good idea to maybe think about doing that. Sam Rolfe ran last year and was elected, and this year we have Taylor Courtney with us. She's videoing for us. But I think that they found that to be a really rewarding experience too. And for me as an advisor, it kind of gave me a different perspective on STARS as well, to kind of learn a little bit more about the organization and some of the leadership that goes behind that. Like I mentioned, I teach a graphic communications class in our fall semester. So our school is really small staff-wise, and we're not able to have full-time art teacher, so we had to be a little creative in our way to get about those art standards or those art classes. And graphic communications is one of those ways. We also do a digital art class and then a creative expressions class to help fulfill some of those standards. A lot of our students, some of them really like art, but some of them really hate art, and so I've kind of pushed them out of their comfort zone. You can see the top picture there. I had my students make a quilt. Just kind of something that's a little hands-on. We also partnered with a kindergarten class that's in our, the Montevideo School District. So we made this quilt, and then after we were done partnering with them, we gave them that quilt, and they use it in their little reading notes. So it was kind of a neat little thing for them to go and present it, kind of as a thank you to them. Again, kind of out of the box thinking a little bit for. At first, they don't really think that they want to do that stuff, but then they got kind of into it and did actually really enjoy that. My next one has to do with technology. Our school is really fortunate in the fact that we've been really supported by our administration to allow us to purchase some technology. About 4 years ago, I wrote a proposal to get some We have what's called best practices meetings in our area where a whole bunch of language arts teachers from the mainstream schools come and meet. And I saw a lot of them had iPads. And I said, well, how come we don't have iPads? And so we asked, and we got 10 iPads. And then the next year we decided, well, do we want all iPads or do we want to do something else? So we added in some Chromebooks, and those were highly successful. So then the next year we were able to add in 10 more Chromebooks. And now our teachers are using a flipped classroom model, if you're familiar with that. Our reading teacher does that quite a bit. Our science teacher uses Schoology. And then, of course, we're able to use a lot of web tools and apps and things as well by adding that technology piece in to help engage our students, but then to kind of give them a different perspective on some of our subject areas.
Teacher at the ALC, and while watching my 3 co-workers back here, I can't remember the exact, I think Larry was 9 years, Jamie 15, and Emily 10 or over that, and I was thinking that this award was won last year, so if you do the math, I wasn't there last year, so it was uneasy coming up here, but now I also feel a little unworthy. I hadn't thought of that yet, but I believe I can bring on kind of a different perspective for being a new guy and a first-year teacher at the ALC. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is a transition class, which is first period at the ALC, who I co-teach with another special education teacher. And this transition class involves students who are just beginning to attend the ALC for their first time. So it could be a senior with just a few credits left, or a 7th grader just coming in. And I think at the very beginning of the school year, obviously at the start we had a lot of new students. I think there was over 20 in the class. So with that, a wide variety of grade levels, ages, it was kind of fun to see how they all kind of meshed together. And in that class, they'll transition out of the class after first quarter or after the first semester, depending upon needed credits and other factors that may go into that to get them out of other classes. And this semester now, I only have a few, myself and Ann, the other special ed teacher, I think there's only 4 or 5 in the class, keeping a few back that were in their first semester that still need a little guidance, or still not figured it out completely yet what the LC is all about. And they're just younger, so not terribly worried about the other credits yet since they're in 7th, 8th grade. But some of the main things is establishing those immediate connections. And I didn't really think of that right away when I started the ALC. These students are still coming in, maybe not knowing anybody, knowing any of the teachers. And you can tell they're uneasy, but it's nice when you throw, I think, a bunch of them that are uneasy and new into the same room, and no one has anything about the rest of them. And Ann always said, the other special ed teacher, when a new student would come in, you're only a new student at the ALC, at ours anyways, maybe 1 or 2 weeks at a time, and then there's another new kid coming in. So I think that kind of made them feel easy, and they were able to establish some connections and some friendships with Ann and myself right away, so they could feel comfortable with 2 teachers, and then other students that they were with that first hour of the day. So within that transition class, we also go over the academic, behavioral, and social expectations of the ALC, which are very familiar and the same to what they were used to at their past schools. Some of the stuff may be different. We covered emergency procedures, that kind of just base stuff that you would cover in any school. And a lot of this stuff, if there's announcements throughout the day, we tell them once in the morning, because a lot of the students, they could probably hear that 2 or 3 times and they still might forget throughout the day. So they're hearing a lot of things twice. And another big part of it is the differences between the ALC and their past school experiences. Right away, we try to establish that rapport with them where, we're telling them, lay it all out, we're just here to complete years ago, and it was kind of just reassuring them that, we're only here to help you. And I think a lot of them, it really does them a lot of good to realize that right away. Some of the other things that we did just were having them all look at their transcripts, getting all their credits on their paper, having them figure that out themselves. So it's all laid out on paper. They need this much of this much of this. What kind of work is that going to entail? So that's the transition class. After the first hour of the day, I mainly have 7th through 9th graders the rest of the day. And an English class, a math class, geography class, and careers. And as I just said, it's mainly 7th through 9th graders. A lot of that being 7th graders that just came to the LC this year. And 9th graders that didn't earn their 7th and 8th grade credit within that class. So they're also with me. A lot of it, just as any of our classes, are a huge difference of skill and ability levels. So just trying to kind of map that out for them each day. And at the LC we had classes, bells, everyone else, the structure. So just as would be at a regular at high school. 8 classes throughout the day. So a lot of these kids I have, I think, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th hour. So they're with me most of the day, which they get sick too. But it's kind of nice that I do have these 4 kind of core classes, especially the English, math, and social. So, one day I may have 10 kids in the room, the next day I may have 3, so I can kind of teach across those class period times where if we didn't, we needed a little more work with math in the morning, I had the opportunity to work with those certain students that may need that extra help in the afternoon. So mine, I can kind of be a little more free with mine having those same students throughout the day. With those wide variety of skill and ability levels, obviously comes modifications and supplements to the curriculum. I think probably more than half of my students are special ed, and as a lot of your kids and our kids at the ALC, we say most of them probably should be receiving special education services, even if they are not. So there's just a huge group, different variety of levels in the class. So some of the modifications, supplementations, and the students help me out with a lot of these. A lot of them are using Wattpad in English, which is a writing app. They can go on and kind of write their own stories and save it, and then they can send it to me from there what they get done each day. And Khan Academy, I've been using a lot with math. A lot of the curriculum, I have one student that will be done with the lesson for the day and still have 20 minutes left in the class period, and more motivating so I can throw some work through another supplement like Khan Academy. And then I have other students that may need more individual attention and need me to be sitting with them or another student to do those few problems on the worksheet. But